Hey Lightweights, and welcome to my super simple review for The Last of Us II Remastered. Thank you so much to Naughty Dog and PlayStation for gifting me a copy of the review code for The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. This is my super simple review for that, in which I tell you, yes, you must buy it. It's pretty good, you should buy it eventually, but you don't need to right now, or no, you should pass. This one was a little trickier because since it is just a remaster, I don't have the entire game to talk about as a whole. We've played the story before, we know the mechanics, we know kind of where the story goes. So if you played it before, this review is kind of more going to be, should you pay the $10 to upgrade? If you haven't played it before, obviously you need to get this game and play it. But the $10 upgrade doesn't apply to you. So this is more for the people who already own the base game, who are looking into, should I buy the $10 upgrade for this remaster edition? So I'm going to kind of talk about the different features that were added, the different things that I played with, that I encountered, and then at the end I'll let you know if I think it was worth the $10 or not. So the first thing that I played with was the guitar free play. I do not play guitar. I do not know how to play guitar. I don't know how to read music. I don't have any of that. But the free play was very, very cute because it wasn't just you were sitting there playing the guitar. I mean, it was at its core, but you could change the character you were playing as. So you could either play as Ellie, Joel, or the composer. And you could also change the type of guitar based off of which character you had and the location or the setting. So at first I was playing with it, I was like, this is fine, but this is not worth $10. Because that was the first thing that I did. Then I switched the character to Joel, I changed the guitar and I changed the background, and all of a sudden Joel was sitting playing guitar in the farmhouse, and I started to well up a little bit. I didn't cry, but I started to well up a little bit because I imagined what could have been. And it ended up being much more emotional for me than I anticipated. I thought it was really cute that you could change the backgrounds and you could change the type of guitar, and it changes the sound and it changes the notes. So if you know how to play guitar, you could get really fancy with this and you could play some really cool stuff. I, however, do not, so I was just strumming. Which brings me to my next point. Obviously this is the wrong game, but with the touchpad, you can actually strum on the touchpad. So I didn't realize that. I was kind of just like flinging my finger back and forth. But then I realized if you went slowly, it would pluck individual strings. And I thought that was really cool because, again, if you do know anything about playing guitar, you could even get like the plucking and you could do specific strings. I don't know how specific it gets, but it was still really cool. So that was cute. They also added a brand new mode called No Return. Now, I was very hesitant to play this because I have never really played games like this before. My first experience of that was kind of Valhalla, where if you die, you reset, you're doing runs, you're slowly getting better, that sort of thing. That's the only experience I have with it. It's God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. And I just played through that. So I was a little hesitant. I didn't think it was gonna be my cup of tea. And I ended up absolutely loving it. So for me, it was addictive because I am a trophy hunter. I am someone who likes to complete things and work toward things. And with the No Return mode, there were different characters you could unlock, different skins you could unlock, different abilities you could unlock, different modes you could unlock, depending on reaching different milestones. So for example, one was beat 3 levels as Ellie and you unlock Dina. So it was really cool. And then it was like, okay, if you play as Dina and do these things, you can unlock Jesse. And so it was just really fun. And then there was different character paths. So Ellie had her own character paths and character unlock progression. And then Abby had her own as well. I didn't play as Abby at all. I just ran out of time. So I thought that was really cool, and I ended up wanting to keep playing because I wanted to unlock those new characters and those new skins and those new mods and things. The other thing is I was worried it was going to be repetitive, but in the bit that I played, it really wasn't. So the way it works is you look at a bulletin board and it has like little pictures, and you can choose the path that you want to go on. It breaks off multiple times, and then the end, it all culminates into a boss fight. But every time you do it, the location is different. And even if you end up having a location that's the same, so I made it, my first run, I made it like halfway through and then I died and I reset. And I did have some of the same locations, but then the enemy type was different. So you can have the WLF, you can have it like different character types or enemy types. You can have the infected, you can have whatever. And some of those ended up being really challenging. There were some locations that I found super challenging, but then some locations that I thought were easier, but all of a sudden it was a different enemy type in that location, and that location became much harder. So there's a lot of layers to this no return mode that I thought were fantastic. Now you can also unlock mods and things. So one of the mods I had where anytime I killed someone with melee weapon, I got a health boost. There's one where if you use a melee weapon, you catch the person on fire. There's different mods. There are some that are beneficial to you, and there are some that are detrimental to you as well. And you can get fancy with that. At some point, you unlock the ability to like add your own mods and make your own kind of levels. I never got to that point because I wasn't really good enough to get to that point, but that's a different conversation. So I never really got there. I never really messed with that. It seemed overwhelming to me, so I just didn't want to mess with it. But you could do that. So you have so many layers to this no return mode, and that in and of itself made the $10 worth it for me. So I'm kind of giving spoilers to the end, but that no return mode was very deep, had a lot of much more complex systems than I anticipated, and had a lot more content to it than I anticipated. And it was really nice because you could change the difficulty level however you want it. So you can make it super, super simple or super, super challenging. By the end, I made it all the way to the end and did the boss fight and completed one run on just like the regular moderate mode. But then as I was trying to unlock new things, I did bump it down to the easiest mode. You get less rewards for that, but it was much easier. So it was easier for me to like unlock different things so I could see different character skins and different character types, which I wanted to be able to see so that I could talk about them with you all today. So the no return mode was fantastic, even if you're not typically someone who likes something like that. And the other thing that I really liked is all of the locations were locations that you went to in the actual game. So I thought that was really cool because you were able to explore them and mess around and play in that little sandbox area in a much different way. Flipping my notes. The last thing were the lost levels. Now, I thought the lost levels were just added into the game, kind of like a director's cut, if you will, but the lost levels were actually a separate piece. So in the main menu, you had to go to like extras, and then the lost levels were in there, something like that. It's not in the main game. So you don't have to play through the main story at all to see and play through these lost levels. I don't really want to give spoilers on them, so I'll really only talk about what they've shared on social media, but they were very cute. There was 3 of them. I loved 2 of them. The third one I was glad they cut, and I did not need to go back to it. But I think the most fascinating thing about those lost levels was the director's commentary. I highly recommend, if you're going to check the lost levels out, to turn the director's commentary on because it is so insightful and it shows you why they made the decisions that they made. In terms of cutting those scenes or how they like design a level. And I just personally find that fascinating. So one of the levels that was cut was in addition to the sewer scene when Ellie gets knocked out of the window and falls into the rapids that lead into the sewers. There was a whole scene where you had puzzles to try to get out of those sewers. And again, I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to get into spoiler territory. But that one in particular, the developer commentary was so fascinating because they're like, well, we put a light here to show you this, and we made you go here and do this because we wanted you to actually see that, or things like that I just thought were really, really cool. There was also a lost level for Jackson, which they have showed on social media, and people were like hating on it a little bit because there's a little mini game you can play with kids where it's like almost like a version of tag / hide and seek where you're pretending to be clickers. So the person who's it has to close their eyes and use hearing to find the other kids. Once you play the lost level though, that actually ends up being super, super cute. And I don't want to say more because I want you guys to experience it, but that Jackson level, I was so sad was cut. I understood why it was cut when I was listening to the director's commentary, but I was so heartbroken that wasn't in the game. And that lost level made me very emotional as well, because when they said originally where that level was going to be, just what had been going on in the story mixed with that lost level, and again mixed with showed you what was actually lost, because it gave you more of an insight into Ellie's life and Joel's life in Jackson before all the shit went down. So it was very emotional for me because it showed you what was lost, and it was just kind of a little gut punch. So that was beautiful. The sewers were fun. It was like puzzly, really cool thing. And then the third one, It was you were hunting a boar, and I was like, yep, glad this one was cut. I did not need this. I don't need to do it again. But the Jackson one I actually played through twice because I wanted to experience it again. Now it's important to know that these lost levels, they were not things that were in the game until the very end and then cut. Some of them are more polished than others, but like the Jackson one doesn't even have verbal dialogue in it because it was cut pretty early on. So I think that's important to remember. So there were also things added like graphical improvements and things like that. And while I did notice the graphical improvements, if you were just gonna buy the $10 upgrade for those alone, I wouldn't recommend it because yes, obviously there's an improvement, but the game is still fairly new and it doesn't really need graphical improvements yet. And the combat didn't feel necessarily any better. Now granted, I did not get very far in the main story because I wanted to mess with the other stuff. So maybe I would notice improvements with the combat and the mechanics the further I got into the game, but up until the point that I played, it was fun, it was nice. Obviously, it was nice that it had a fresh coat of paint, but that alone wasn't necessarily worth the justification of the $10, but the no return is. So my final review would be, if you have the $10, now I'm trying to think. This one is a tricky one. I feel like personally, I would definitely buy this because it's only $10, especially if you are like me and you've only played through the whole game once, and it was when the game first released. I think the $10 is worth it because you get to replay the entire game again, and you also get the no return mode. But I'm gonna say, yes, you should buy this for the $10 because I think they have enough content in there to justify the $10 with the no return mode alone. Now, some people are gonna argue, well, Valhalla just came out and that was free. And yes, you're not wrong. But this is also a slight graphical upgrade as well. So there's more to it than just the lost scenes and the no return and the guitar free play. So I feel like it is justified for the $10. However, if you're someone who you don't care about playing through the story again, you don't necessarily love the idea of like a roguelike kind of mode, I don't think you need to play this. There aren't any new story beats added to the no return mode. And it's mostly just for if you want to dive back into this world and dive back into the story. If that doesn't interest you, then I would say pass on this. But if the idea of replaying through the story again, if the idea of a new roguelite, whatever you want to call it, sounds enticing to you, I would say definitely buy it. But unfortunately, it's kind of up to what you're interested at this moment, because it is just a remaster with a new mode. But overall, I had a lot of fun with this game. I definitely am going to be replaying it. I think I'll probably try to platinum it finally. And I was having a lot of fun with the no return mode as well. I hope you enjoyed this review. It went much longer than I anticipated. I'm sorry about that. Normally I try to keep them pretty short, but I guess I had more to say than I realized. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know in the comments below if you're planning on getting this $10 upgrade, and if and when you eventually get it, let me know your thoughts on the game as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button when you do so that you know when I post future review videos.